How long have I been in the tri-state area? I have been here my entire life. I was born at St. Mary's Hospital. Up until recently, it has been family and work that's kept me here. I've just not been motivated to leave, despite really wanting to. And I have recently acquired work in Los Angeles, California, so I will be leaving the tri-state area come mid-December to move to LA to pursue my dreams of being self-employed as a photographer. And hopefully that'll work well. My wife is going to be, she's very motivated and motivational for me to get out there so she can do her hair and makeup, and we're going to try and tag team that together out there. I figured if we did pretty good here in Evansville, hopefully we'll be able to do the same out there. So yeah, some of the things that I like about the tri-state area are I like being able to go somewhere and sometimes run into somebody that I know. It's kind of a crapshoot on who you're going to run into where. It's always fun to do that. It's easy to build a portfolio here because of word of mouth, and you get a lot of referrals from people that they're repeat customers. If you establish that, and it's easy to do here, and you build a rapport with people, then they come back to you a lot. They're very friendly here. I like the fact that you have, within a 3 hours driving distance, you can go to Indianapolis, St. Louis, Louisville, Nashville, a lot of the bigger cities to do things. So I enjoy my release for photography would be, let's say, landscape stuff. Well, you can shoot the heck out of downtown Evansville, but you've got all these places that are so close by that you could never run out of stuff to shoot, which is fun. And you can still shoot in Evansville. You can have country stuff, you can have urban things, all sorts of different things here that you can shoot that looks like you're somewhere that's not here, but it's only a 20-minute drive. What got me into photography was my mother, actually. She had always told me whenever I was younger that I would always stop. Wherever we were going, I would always stop and just look at a scene of whatever it may be, and I would stop and just take it in and appreciate it for what it was. And she would always say, oh, well, that would make a good picture. But she never took a picture, she never did anything. So there for a while, she really pushed art on me, like painting and things like that, what I could see. But I can't paint or draw a stick person. So I knew that was out. And so I decided to pick up a camera, and I really liked that when I was younger, and I got away from it. And I was several years without even taking pictures. And then my buddy came over to my house one day, and he's like, oh, I bought a camera. And I was like, I've always wanted to buy a camera. And he kind of motivated me to buy the camera. He took me out, and it was a Sony. I can't remember what model of Sony it was, but it was a Sony. And he kind of taught me within 5 minutes about ISO and shutter speed and aperture, and kind of explained to me what all it was. And within 4 or 5 pictures, I was nailing my shots perfect, exactly how I wanted them. And I just kind of went from there. And I was like, well, if I'm doing this good the very first time, I might as well go ahead and get my own. So I got my own, and I studied for about a year or so, just taking pictures of random stuff before I ever charged anybody anything. And then I decided, well, I'm going to go ahead and try my hand on a paid shoot. Did it. Thought I did all right. The client loved it. So I decided to keep going with it. And that first half a year or so, I did maybe 3 or 4 paid shoots. And I've been shooting for about 2.5 years now. The last year and a half or so is whenever business has really picked up. As I really dove in, I started doing online seminars and training and reading all sorts of different things and just learning the craft. And it's been a process, but a good one, a fun one. Some of my favorite things to photograph, it really varies on my mood. If I'm looking to just go out for a stress reliever or release, I'll go out and shoot some cityscape or landscape, or even do a little bit of macro work. Not much, because I don't have an actual macro lens, but I do like doing, I guess not really macro, I shouldn't say macro, I should say abstract art. I really enjoy abstract art. It's fun to make something and have somebody look at it and go, that's really cool. What is that? And I have fun with it. Well, take a guess. You tell me what it is. And it's so fun. It's almost like a Rorschach painting in a way, looking at abstract art, because you get so many people you get so many different answers of things when somebody looks at abstract art. It's really neat. So those would definitely be my favorite. That's my release. Now, whenever it comes to making money with my camera, solo models, hands down. I love shooting solo models. It doesn't matter if it's males, females, if it's teens, if it's even a child. As long as it's just a solo person, that is where I love to make my money. And I feel like over the last 6 months or so, I've really started to find my niche in that and done really well. I can see improvements every single session. I find more and more keepers in my sessions, and yeah. How do I feel about printing my work? I feel that printing is a whole other monster of the business. Just like videography and photography, I feel that it is something that is completely separate. It's a big debate to me in the printing world. I see a lot of people that offer only prints, and I see a lot of people that do digital downloads. And with this day and age, I feel that if you limit yourself to doing prints only, you're really limiting your business. Everybody wants that instant gratification, and everybody is all about social media and instantly. They want it now, now, now. So printing kind of slows that down, but at the same time, you can make 2 or 3 times the money on your session if they order prints from you. So it's something that I do offer to my clients, but I don't enforce it yet. Maybe once I get a higher clientele and a different market than what it is here in Evansville, I might lean a little bit more towards prints only. But right now, with this day and age with social media and all of the different ways that people can get your pictures immediately, I hate to say it, but I feel like doing prints, the only way they get your pictures is prints, is a dying breed of photographers. And I hate that, but I just see that that is the way that it's going. Some of my goals as a photographer is going to be to support my family solely off of photography. In my opinion, I don't think that anybody should be considered a professional photographer unless that is their primary profession. The root word to professional is profession. And if you're not doing it full time as your sole base of income, you're not a professional. That's my opinion, and it varies. And I want to be considered a professional photographer. I want to have that as the only job that I have. I want to be my own boss with that, whether it is, I don't care what kind of photography it is, that's what I want to do. And until others see me as the professional photographer, I'm not going to call myself that. That's my number one goal. Hopefully with my move to LA that is going to be something that I can do easier there than here. Goals within my next 5 years, I have several. Being self-employed as a photographer is just the first rung into that ladder. Once I get out there and get established within the next 5 years, I hope that I am going to be a sought-after photographer for anybody, whether it be solo models, wedding jobs, hopefully take some pictures of some celebrities. You don't know. I'd love to. I've got a contact out there that I might be able to do that with. I just have to handle myself properly, and hopefully that'll be something that'll be done, and add a couple of celebrities to my portfolio. I've got some bucket list shots that I want to get, shots around the world, things such as the San Francisco Bridge, Golden Gate Bridge. I want to shoot the Colosseum in Rome. The Northern Lights is among that list, so you can see the things. They're not just backyard pictures that I want to get there. I'm going to have to really work and push myself, and hopefully within the next 5 years I can start to knock some of those off. The gear that I typically use right now is, the only camera that I have in my bag at this moment is a Canon 5D Mark III that was purchased last year. It was an upgrade to the original Canon 7D, which was an upgrade to the Canon T3i, which I started out with. I'm probably going to stay Canon because of the lens kit that I have. I've got most of my shots right now, because of the solo models that I've really been picking up. I've been using a Sigma Art 50mm 1.4 lens. Love it. The bokeh on it is amazing. I won't get too much into that. It's not a product review, but highly recommend the Sigma series. I use that lens a lot. I've got a 70-200 Tamron lens that I have, and for my sports photography that I do quite a bit of, actually, I've got the L series 100-400 Canon f4. Those are my primary lenses. I've picked up a little bit of real estate work here lately, in which I use my wide angle Rokinon 14mm, and for $300 that thing's paid for itself over and over again already. If you ever need to do any kind of wide angle stuff, highly recommend that. Tips for photographers just starting out. The number one tip that I can give anybody just starting out is, do not compare your work to anybody else's. Keep track of the stuff that you do now and compare yourself to where you are a year from now to now. Look at the pictures. If you have the capability of doing it, take the exact same shot of the exact same person or the exact same piece of landscape and compare the two. It is amazing how different the shot will be. I've done it here recently with a couple of mine, and I don't know if it's just my familiarity with my gear or my post-processing techniques or what, but it blows my mind the difference that it makes. Know your gear. Know that it is not the gear that makes the photographer. The best camera that you will ever use is the one that you have on you at the time you want the shot. It's not the most expensive or anything like that. Make sure you know what you're capable of doing with what it is that you have in your hand. Just because it's a $1,000 lens or a $2,000 lens or a $3,000 camera doesn't mean that that person that's holding that stuff makes them a better photographer than you. That's not true at all. And an easy way to prove that is to Google iPhoneography and look at some of the work that those people do with nothing but an iPhone. I hate to say it, but it's amazing. And it's all cell phone pictures and cell phone edited, and some of this stuff looks 100 times better than what some of the people that are out there charging for sessions are. And it just proves my point that the best equipment you have is what you have on you at the time. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do I rate myself, with 1 being I just opened my first camera and 10 being I've taught the best photographers in the world? I would say that I am a humble 4 or 5 in comparison to where I want to be. Having a 2.5-year-old son and planning a trip to move across the United States, I do not have the time that I want to have to invest it into learning certain things. Most of what I want to learn at this point is post-processing techniques, but I know that I fall short in that. And going back to a previous question, tips that I would give a new photographer is be humble. Don't think you know everything. If you do sessions and you think that they are awesome shots and you do not see room for improvement, you're never going to improve. Every single picture I take, even if it's an awesome one, if I can't critique it to death and find something about it that I could have done better, I give it to somebody that I admire as a photographer to do it for me, to keep me in check. Always push yourself. And it's because of that I don't give myself the credit that a lot of other people do. You will always be your worst critic. So again, I'd probably say maybe a 5. As a photographer, what I struggle with the most is probably the business side of photography. I am not a college graduate. I graduated from Wrights High School here in Evansville, Indiana, but I don't have any college education whatsoever. A lot of people that I know, they went to school for general business degrees, and once you get to the point of knowing your settings in your camera and knowing some general post-processing things, you need to know, everybody will tell you what sets you aside from the people that work full-time and the people that don't, once you get to a certain level, is the business aspect of photography. And I admit I do not know the business side of photography as well as I need to. I've been reading up on it and studying it more and more because I feel that I'm getting more comfortable with my camera, but it still does fall short. But in terms of actual photography, the things that I struggle with, one is posing. Posing has always been a downside of mine. I've noticed a lot of the best shots that I have taken they're not posed at all. They're just random in between what I would consider scenes, and I snap a couple of pictures off without the person even knowing it, and those always come out the best. And from what I've seen, a lot of other photographers have that exact same thing. They notice that the candid shots are always the best. That's great, but I still want to have tricks up my sleeve in terms of posing. I also struggle a little bit with my post-processing. I can do very generalized things with my Photoshop skills or Lightroom skills, but when it comes to doing any kind of head swapping and things like that, I can do it, but I struggle with it. And I think part of that is because I know I did it. So I see right off the bat things that don't look right. And I've showed people pictures of stuff that I've done and they don't see it at all, but it still bothers the heck out of me because I know that's not natural. So it's a humbling question, things that I struggle with. I could tell you more things that I struggle with and more things that I feel like I do right. Posing, post-process editing, my packages. Whenever I price my packages, I'm a people person. Everything that I do, I want to make somebody happy. I don't want to turn somebody away if they want my services just because they can't afford my prices. I want to work with everybody. I want to make them happy. I want to be able to give them a gift that they like. So I will tailor a package to somebody and end up burning myself in the long run. I'll knock off half the price of a package just because somebody really wants to work with me, and it makes me happy that they want to, so I'll give them a $150 session for $75 or whatever and end up spending 3 or 4 hours on it, and then I look and it's like, I just lost money on this session. But I don't mind. On a business side, you can't do that. But as just a plain old photographer, you can do that. So I find myself struggling between I pull myself one way and the other a lot.